Hey y'all, this is Randy with the Living Well Blueprint. Today I want to talk to you about exercise, but really what I want to get into is having you think a lot about why you exercise, and when you know why, you can clearly define the how. So what I want to do is start with a little bit of an exercise. Think seriously about you 30 to 40 years from now. So think about the end of your life, that last few years, okay? And envision what you want your life to look like, and connected to that, what kind of body, what does your health need to look like to support the life you want? So we really need to start articulating these things. A lot of us don't think a lot beyond retirement years. There isn't a mental map for these next 3 decades, and that's what we have to start creating for ourselves. So think 3 to 4 decades ahead. What does you want your life to look like? And these two things going together. If you want vibrant relationships with your spouse, it's potential, it's possible with kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. There's a lot of possibilities here. If you want to have had a second career, you want a dynamic relationships with friends, involvement in your community, whatever it is for you, okay? What kind of condition does your body have to be in to support that? So what we need to do is go from that end point and work backwards. Many of you may have done an exercise at some point in your lives where somebody asked you to write your eulogy. So pretending you had died and what will be said of you. Okay, so we're kind of doing a similar exercise for ourselves and figuring out if this is what I want my body to be able to do, and that's the key word, then this is what I need to be doing now for that result. Because the confusing thing about fitness is there's a paradox in fitness culture. You know, most of us have this vision, this person that's been displayed to us through movies, television, print, social media, wherever it comes to you, you've been presented with a body that is your ideal. This is what I wish I would look like. This is what I should look like. We do a lot of demeaning of ourselves, a lot of guilt about ourselves because we're struggling and failing in our attempts to emulate these bodies we admire. Okay, male or female, we have this idea in our head of what we should look like, what size we should be, how much we should weigh, how much we should bench press, and we've created these standards that we believe have some equivalency and value. Like having that body would be a likable person, is a successful person, is a disciplined person. The fact of the matter is, what we see, I think many of us logically understand, isn't real. So there's a few things we have to understand about what's presented to us as fitness. Number one, understand genetics. All right, there is a small percentage of people who can look like what's presented to us. All right, most of us will never, ever, no matter the effort we put in, no matter what we attempt to do, look like those people presented to us. All right, they were just gifted at birth with a bone structure and a body that responds to exercise, a body that can not hold fat, that can survive certain things and come out still looking good, that have lean waists and wide shoulders. Just a fact. Now, you have to add on top of that, what we see from many of these people is not only genetics, but they then add in drugs, all right? PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. There's many people whose bodies we are aspiring to look like who don't actually look like that. Okay, they've been enhanced. There's drugs that help them facilitate growing muscle, recovery, leaning the body. It's all been manipulated with pharmacology. All right, so genetics plus drugs. A third factor you can lay in there is filtering. We all have been filtered. We've all been on a Zoom call. We put the little filter on, gives us a little color, takes the bags away. That we get. But what you have to understand is anything you see in print, social media, film, television, they're digitally modifying those pictures. People look more muscular than they are, a little more ripped than they are. Abs are a little more defined than they can possibly be. Jaw lines are sharper, right? They almost make people cartoonish in appearance. So we're using those as our benchmarks, right? The fourth thing we want to think about is, even on top of genetics, possible use of drugs, filtering, the lifestyle they lead to hold or maintain or gain that body is ridiculous in its focus and effort. Right? And I think a lot about this. When I was 19 years old, I had quit playing football. Okay? So my whole life was around sports. I was an athlete. I got adulation, admiration, attention from being an athlete. I quit playing football. And I hadn't anticipated it, but suddenly I didn't have the skills or anything in which to interact with people because they always came to me and interacted with me based on sports. So I decided that in not having football any longer, I was going to get shredded. Right? I was going to get jacked, and that would be sort of my cape that I would wear out in public. That's my suit of armor that protects me, but it draws attention to me also. So I spent 2 years absolutely dialed in. Diet, exercise, rest, sleep. There was not a moment that wasn't invested in building the body that I wanted, the body I thought would deliver me from feelings of insignificance, insecurity, a lack of sort of attention from people. Okay, so I spent 2 years doing this. And during that time, it was probably 18 months in or so, I started really feeling a lot of loneliness and depression. I had stopped interacting with my friends. I had stopped dating. I didn't really have any significant relationships because all of that conflicted with my training schedule. All of that conflicted with my dream, my goal. All right? My friends are out on Friday night. Okay, I can't go on Friday night. They're drinking beer, eating pizza, staying out late. I'm eating chicken and rice. I'm going to bed early. All right? I got to train on Saturday morning. This is about having a dream and a vision. So I'm starting to feel depressed, lonely. At that point, I read 2 books. One is called Muscle by Samuel Fussell, and the other is called Gorilla Suit by Bob Paris. Both of them bodybuilders. So Fussell tells the story of being a skinny Ivy League student who felt, like the kid getting sand kicked in his face, and he decides he's going to get jacked. Bob Paris is a professional bodybuilder. Both of them in their book deconstruct this body they built. And the gorilla suit Bob Paris references to is basically this suit he built to intimidate people, to impose himself on people. It was protection. He would get attention just because of his muscles and his looks, but at the same time, no one would ever get inside. No one could ever crack that gorilla suit. Fussell said exactly the same thing. And this really opened my eyes to what I was doing. And it made me start rethinking fitness. Like, what is this thing? I'm building this body, but how is this healthy? How is this good? I am trying to get abs and I'm almost there. But what good are abs if you're alone? What good are abs if you're depressed? What good are abs if you don't have any friends? Right? So this thing I think is going to attract the people are actually encouraging the loss of all of those things. So how is that health? So this is an important thing to start considering on as we kind of pull apart this paradox of fitness, because so much of what we perceive as fitness isn't healthy. It's not healthy, okay? And it doesn't necessarily fit into the vision of our lives, because if you would have asked me at the same time, I would have said, I want to be in a committed relationship. Well, why aren't I going on dates? I would have said, I want a whole bunch of really good friends, just guys I can hang out with, go have beers with. Okay, but you won't go out and have a beer. Okay, so all of the things I would say I wanted that I thought I would get through muscles, I'm actually denying myself. So there's a lot wrapped up in this. These images we're presenting dig deep into our psyche. We attach ourselves to these images. Okay, these become the metrics that we use for ourselves to judge ourselves. So it's important to start thinking about exercise from a different lens. First of all, longevity. Go to that person you envisioned. You, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Okay? In that span of time, what do you want your body to be able to do? Now come back. See, the key words are, what do you want your body to do? See, when we only think about building the external, that is performative. Okay, like we're performing, we're presenting ourselves, and we're hoping for a response or a reaction, adulation, admiration, envy. But what we really want from exercise is performance. Health is the capacity of your body to do the things you want it to do and living the life you want to lead. But that takes some intentional effort, that takes some thought, some deep consideration about how that is going to look and how you're going to make it come about. So understand there's a paradox. Fitness, what we're presented, doesn't necessarily mean health. Okay? You need to define health based on your capacity to do the things you want to do. All right? So reconsider those things and think deeply for yourself. What do I want my body to be able to do? How do I make that happen? Now, we know we need to maintain the physical structure. We know we need to do strength training probably twice a week, work on flexibility, mobility. That's all maintaining the body, but that's just it. You're maintaining the body so it can do for you, not so it can look a certain way for somebody else. So, hope this struck a chord with you. If it did, please like and subscribe to the videos. If somebody could really benefit from hearing this message, please share the video. I am Randy. This is the Living Well Blueprint, and I will see you next time.